Now let's talk about the what I refer to as the enormous marketing value of a unique mechanism. So number one, today, like it's important for you to understand, this is something that I drill into my own team, that differentiation is critical. Today, like you have to have something different to say. What prospects want to know across the board in the overwhelming majority of markets is what makes yours different, and then ultimately what makes yours better. You're going to learn later on today how we use different to get attention, and we use better or superior to produce the conversion, to produce the sale. But differentiation is critical. Nobody seeks out more of the same. Nobody wants, like, nobody's going to try another product or service that is similar to what it is that they've already tried, that they've already experienced, that they already know, that they're already using. Nobody wants an approach that they already know about, that they already understand, that they already have experience with. They want different. When it comes to getting attention, different is better than better. Different gets attention. Better doesn't always get attention. So you're going to hear me talk about, when it comes to the unique mechanism, that the unique mechanism is different and better. Different and better. But differentiation is critical. If all you are doing is bringing the same thing to the market that others are, and hoping that because of your personality or because of your credibility or solely because of your track record or your credentials, they'll choose you, no go. No good. Not today. Not anymore. There was a time when your track record was valuable, or certainly there was a time when how long you've been in business was valuable, right? There was a time in commerce where people looked for the folks, we've been in business for 50 years. Thanks to the internet and technology companies, that is no longer a sought after point of differentiation. Today, what people want to know, the number one thing that prospects want to know, is what's different about your thing, and why is that difference, or why does that difference make it better? Better for me, better for what I want, better for producing the result. Like I said, differentiation solely through experience, no longer effective today. We already said differentiation with a unique benefit, a USP, is rare. And of course, a unique mechanism gives you the ability to differentiate with something new. So you got to understand that, what people are attracted to is new. Nobody wants to know, like, nobody wants what's old. Nobody wants what's dated. They want what's new. And just by having a unique mechanism, it is naturally new to the prospect. I don't mean new as in you just created this yesterday. I mean new to the prospect. New as in it's not something that they've either heard about. It's not something that they've experienced. It's not something that they've tried. It's not something that they've deployed for themselves. Therefore, it is new to the prospect. And so having a unique mechanism gives us the ability to differentiate with something new, which is what your prospects want. This is why people ask you when they get together, right? Or when we used to get together, right? People would say, so what's new? Nobody wants to know what's old. What's still the same as the last time I spoke to you? Nobody wants to know that. Nobody cares about that. They want to know what's new. And it's a weird thing in most markets. I'll tell you, in most markets, people don't even want what's old, even when it is tried and true. Like, it is what it is. After 20 years, 2 decades in this direct response world, I can tell you that people are more enamored with new than they are with old, even if old is tried and true. And so that's one of the beauties of the unique mechanism. It gives you the ability, and this I want you to understand, having a unique mechanism gives you the ability to differentiate what it is that you do while still promising your prospects the same result, the same outcome that your competitors are. See, one of the beautiful things about the unique mechanism is that you don't have to figure out a new promise to make to your prospects. You don't have to try to come up with some whiz bang promise of outcome, promise of transformation, promise of result. You don't need to do that, because we're not going to differentiate based on the promise, because in most cases, you don't have a USP. So because you don't have a USP, right, we're not going to differentiate based on the promise. We're able to identify what it is that your prospects want. What is the outcome that they want? What is the result that they want? What is the change that they want? Like, what is the problem that they are trying to solve? And what does it look like for them when it is solved, right? And we are able to differentiate you from everybody else, even if everybody else is making that same promise. So you can promise the same result, and with a unique mechanism, we still differentiate. We still present yours as exciting because it's new, it's different, right? New, different, and it is superior, right? So it's superior. Understand that this is an important point because it allows us to really just it really allows us to do a couple things. Number one, it allows us to really just look at our market and know what it is that, right, like through the examination process, to know what it is that the market wants. What's the market's problem? What are they struggling with? What are they dealing with? Or what is the unfulfilled or unmet need or desire? It also allows us to look at competitors, your direct response competitors, and look at, are there any commonalities, common trends in terms of what it is that they are promising? Because we can use that. We can model their promise. We're not going to model their unique mechanism. We're going to, or their mechanism or their approach. We're going to do just the opposite. But when it comes to the promise, the payoff, the result, the transformation, we can do our own examination, and then we can look for trends across competitors to know what is appealing to the marketplace. And then we can use that. And we're still able to stand out as new, unique, different and superior because of the unique mechanism. The unique mechanism answers as well, why this, right? Why this, right? Like ultimately what I want you to understand when people say like, why this, why yours, man? Why should I buy yours, right? Why yours, Barbara? Thank you. Why yours? Why yours, Diego? Why yours, James? Why yours, Ted? Right? What they're ultimately looking for, what they ultimately want to hear, what ultimately produces the conversion is that you've got something that is certainly different from the others, but it is superior to the others at giving the prospect what it is that they want. That's what they want to hear from you. That's what produces the conversion. That you've got something, right? You've got something to give them the result that they want. You've got something that gives them the transformation, the outcome, the change that alleviates their problem. That is at the root of marketing. That is at the root of marketing, right? That you have a solution to solve their problem, whether it is an unresolved conflict or whether it is a unmet or unfulfilled need or desire, right? That you've got something to solve their problem. But what they want to know next, right, is, well, why yours? Because there are a lot of people, there are a lot of products, there are a lot of services that are also promising me to relieve that problem. Well, the answer is because ours is different, right? Here's how. Right? It's different. Here's why it's different or how it's different. And here's why it produces better results for you. Boom. That's the answer. That's the answer that leads to the conversion. And when you can't answer that, when you don't have the answer to that, when the answer is, because I've been doing this for 20 years, right? Well, nobody cares today that you've been doing it for 20 years. What they care about is, how does your thing produce better results for me? How is your thing going to get me the outcome, the result, the transformation that I want? Easier, faster, more results, more consistently. One of those, two of those, a combination of those. That's what they want to know, right? That's what they want to know. They want to understand how and why your thing can give them the outcome better than anything else. The unique mechanism answers that question. It also, and this is really an important point, it also gives your prospects hope. It gives them hope. It gives them, this is where a unique mechanism creates this excitement, this emotional response in the prospect, because it gives them a feeling of hope that maybe this time, maybe with your mechanism, maybe with this thing, this framework, this system, this approach that I haven't tried yet, that I haven't heard of before, that I haven't been introduced to before, that is different from all the others that I've tried and failed with. Maybe this time this will work. Maybe this is what I've been missing all along. Maybe this is the gap, the missing piece. See, in the majority of your prospects' minds, the reason why people buy, and they buy and buy in many markets, especially when it comes to information products, courses, training programs, coaching, consulting. The reason why people buy and continue to buy is this belief that I'm missing something. is this belief that there's one thing that if I knew it, it would change everything for me, right? That is an inherent belief that people have. That's why people buy. They believe that, right? This could be the thing. This could be the thing. This could be the one thing that I'm missing. This could be the answer. This could fix it all, right? And when it is different from everything else that you've tried, right? And through your education-based marketing content, like I'm going to teach you, you are able to prove why it is superior, right? It gives them hope. It actually gives them hope from the opening of the campaign when you introduce them to, all right, there's a new and different way for you to get the result that you want. And this result, right, and it produces better results for you. It's better than anything else. That immediately creates hope that this could be it. Hope that this could be the answer. And so it's a very powerful emotion that is stirred from the introduction of the unique mechanism. It also allows you to market to more sophisticated markets, which you're going to learn more about this when we cover what's called the promise exposure spectrum. In that, right, like the markets where there are a lot of competitors and your prospects have been exposed to a lot of marketing messages, a lot of claims, a lot of promises, right? And so they're more sophisticated, right? Those folks, typically the masses of those folks only respond to what we call more sophisticated marketing messages. More sophisticated marketing messages are marketing messages based on a unique mechanism. Unsophisticated marketing unsophisticated marketing message is a message that is based purely on a claim, a promise. Lose weight, right? Grow greener grass. Or, even things like, lose up to 10 pounds a week. That is an unsophisticated marketing message that only appeals to unsophisticated, prospects in low awareness markets, things that you're going to learn today. Don't worry. The reality is that if you're in a competitive and saturated marketplace, your prospects have heard most of the claims already. And so what moves them is not more claims, is not more exaggerated claims, is not more blown up claims, meaning expanded claims, but are claims, a promise backed by a unique mechanism, a different approach to produce that result. And so, and of course, like I've been saying, the unique mechanism allows you to use what's called education-based marketing content. Education-based marketing content, what I call EBM content. I want you to get this. I'm going to give you kind of a snap, a peek into how we use the unique mechanism. See, the beauty is when you have a unique mechanism, what you are able to do, how you're able to build your marketing messages, your marketing campaigns, is you're able to really introduce this new and different way for your prospect to get the result that they want. And then you're able to educate the prospect on this new and different way to get the result that they want, and showing how and why it works, and how and why it works is superior, better than all the other methods. Or right, maybe it's better in that it's faster, it's better in that it's easier, it's better in that it produces more consistent results, or maybe it's better in that it produces more results, right? You're able to educate. We're not talking about the product. We're not talking about your offer. We're not talking about you. We're not pitching your product. We're not talking about the features of your product. We're educating the prospect on a new and different way to get the result that they want. All we're doing is educating them, showing them why it is not only different, but why it is superior. We're teaching them, right? And so we're not pitching, we're not selling, we're educating. But we're educating in a unique way. What I mean by that is we're educating about one thing. And you're going to see this played out. We're educating about one thing, and that is the unique mechanism and the value of the unique mechanism and the value of why the unique mechanism is the superior option for the prospect. And so we're not pitching, we're not selling, we're not talking about a product. So the prospect sales filter is down because we're educating. But the way we are educating, because we're educating about the unique mechanism, we lead the prospect to want the unique mechanism. Once they want the unique mechanism, you'll see that's when we segue into your offer, which is the only place that they can get the unique mechanism, right? And so before you ever even go into the offer, they already want the mechanism, and the offer is the way that they get the unique mechanism. And so one other thing to point out, is this, and this is an important point for you guys and gals, and that is this, that the unique mechanism and the product are not the same thing. So the unique mechanism and the product are not the same thing. The product is what contains the unique mechanism. The product is what delivers the unique mechanism. The product is how the prospect can learn or experience or benefit from the unique mechanism. But the unique mechanism and the product are not the same thing. Let's take, for example, and it could be very subtle, and I'm going to show you lots of examples later. But let's take the E5 method and let's take E5 coaching as an example. So E5 method is the overall unique mechanism, if you will. It's the overall framework. Now, underneath E5, the framework, and we're going to talk about this later, there are lots of little unique mechanisms that make up the overall E5 framework. But the E5 method is the unique mechanism. E5 coaching is the product. Right. And so when I talk about the E5 method, I'm not talking about the product. I'm not talking about everything that you get with E5 coaching. I'm not talking about my team, and I'm not talking about my curriculum, and I'm not talking about a code. I'm not talking about any of those things. Right. When I'm talking about the E5 method, I'm educating on this unique and different approach, this superior approach to generating clients consistently day in and day out. That's not the same as me talking about E5 coaching. So when you're talking about the unique mechanism, you're not talking about the product. You're talking about what powers the product. You're talking about the reason why the product is able to deliver the result. And that might seem like nuance to you, but it's not at all. In fact, it's a tremendously important point. It's a tremendously important point because when we use education-based marketing, we are not talking about your product or your service. We're not talking about your coaching. We're not talking about your consulting. We're not talking about your course. We're not talking about your book. We're not talking about the offer or the deliverables in the offer itself. We're talking about the mechanism. Right. And so we're able to talk about this mechanism. We're able to educate on this mechanism and what makes it so valuable and what makes it so effective and what makes it so different. And then once we've led them to see, I understand why that mechanism is the way to go. I understand why that approach, why that framework, why that system is the right way for me to lose weight, is the right way for me to invest my money, is the right way for me to grow greener grass, is the right way for me to alleviate my back pain. I understand, right? At that point, when we segue into the offer, they see the value already of the mechanism. The offer and the product or service in the offer is how they get it. And so that is a subtle point that I want to make sure that you guys and gals grasp. Let me see here a couple questions. Todd, will you go over the methods to discover the unfulfilled needs or unresolved conflicts? Are short of Facebook groups, not much success there. I don't get admin permissions to ask group or could be creating the wrong questions. So we'll talk a little bit about it at the end. Make sure, write that down, Mark, and we'll come back and we'll discuss that for sure. I'm in network marketing and we have UM on our products, but we share this message with an army of distributors. Is the UM for me now to promote the solution combined with an extra service only available to me, or is it enough to give me the UM on the product name? Hold that, Peter, hold that question, because you're going to see you have a couple of different options that you can use. And so I want to just very quickly unpack. I mentioned in this over here, I said that having a unique mechanism enables you to market more effectively to sophisticated markets. I mentioned the promise exposure spectrum. And so I want you to see this, and I want you to understand this. Let me do this real quick. Let me do this bad boy. Whoops. Do this. I'm going to bring something up for you guys and gals. Okay. So the promise exposure spectrum is really based on work that was done by Eugene Schwartz, one of the godfathers of direct response marketing many, many moons ago. And this is really the evolution that markets go through as they become more sophisticated. And so, and I want you to understand this because I want you to see the role that a unique mechanism plays. I want you to understand why this allows you to market to sophisticated markets. This will also be really helpful for you in kind of looking at your market and understanding where your market is at. So on the promise exposure spectrum, the lowest level of sophistication over here, we have promise. And so when you are able to present a promise, an outcome, a result that nobody else in your market is able to make, when you are able to promise a result, an outcome, a transformation that nobody else in your market is able to make, you are able to just present a promise. And that is enough to be a differentiator, right? Because it's differentiating you because you're promising something that nobody else can. Now, I like to relate this to the fat burning supplements, right? And I've talked about this really for years, the fat burners. So, the fat burners are the pills that fat burners, that's what that says. Fat burners. Actually, let me do this. Let me get rid of this real quick. And let's do this. Let me do it this way. This little pen tool, it'll be faster. So this is promise, right? So when the very first fat burner, the pills that you can take that help to speed up your metabolism, when they were first introduced, the only thing that they needed to do was say, take this pill and you'll lose weight. Take this pill and you'll lose weight. And that was enough. That was all they had to say because nobody else had said that. There was nobody else that was promising, take this pill and you'll lose weight. But what happens in every single market is over time, right? Competitors come in, they see what's working for you, let's just say, and they begin to knock it off. That's the nature of the beast. Then we see this evolution where simply just saying, take this pill and you'll lose weight. And let me say this, that whether you take this pill and lose fat, take this pill and lose weight, take this pill and lose inches, that's all the same promise. They're just exchanging words in there, right? What happens is that the market no longer responds to that kind of marketing message the same way. And so what you get is you get this promise expanded. And this is where you see marketers that begin to expand the claim, expand the promise, expand the transformation, meaning they'll say, take this pill and lose 10 pounds, take this pill and lose 20 pounds, take this pill and lose 20 pounds and 10 inches, right? They're expanding the promise. They're enlarging the promise. So that's, lose weight. That's what we're going to say over here. Lose weight. Over here, it is, call it lose 10 pounds, in whatever, in 2 weeks, right? So they're expanding the promise. Now, the thing that I want you to understand is this, right? That so many marketers, they just live here. They try to compete here. They try to differentiate here by expanding the promise. This is why in, let's say, the online, marketing space, right? We saw with like how to get Facebook fans, right? Get Facebook fans. That was the promise. And then when other people started promising how to get Facebook fans, it became how to get 1,000 Facebook fans, how to get 10,000 Facebook fans, how to get 100,000 Facebook fans, how to get 1 million Facebook fans, how to get 1,000 Facebook fans in 24 hours, right? They just expanded the claim. And lots of just, unsophisticated or amateur marketers, they just try to live here and they try to look at their competitors and what their competitors are promising, and they just try to enlarge the claim. Well, one of two things happen at a certain point. Number one is either they're lying, they're just making up something, they're just promising something that they can't deliver on, right? Which, shame on them. It's obviously, goes without saying, it's completely unethical. So they're either just lying, they're promising something that they can't deliver on, or they are promising something that's no longer believable. If we had a pill that people could take and they would lose 100 pounds, the majority of people are not going to believe that, true or not, right? And what's true isn't always believable, and what's believable isn't always true. And so, right, you reach a point where the market is no longer responding to those expanded claims. Let me just get rid of that thing here. Oops. Let me get rid of that so you guys aren't distracted by that like I am. There we go. All right. So what happens is that's when we see this evolution to let's just call it a unique mechanism plus the promise. So now we're still promising, right? The outcome. We're still promising the same outcome, right? And we're still promising the most audacious thing that we can. That's true and believable, right? But now it is backed by a unique mechanism. So this is like, take this pill which contains Garcinia cambogia and prevents the absorption of fat and lose weight like crazy, right? It's the introduction of, in the fat burner case, it's the introduction of a unique mechanism in here. Now, the reality is that for the overwhelming majority of you that are in the coaching, consulting, expert business, agency business, information product, courses, trainings, books, all that, you can live here. You don't even need to worry about going anywhere else. This is where we live and breathe. And the overwhelming majority of our clients live and breathe, right? Because as you're going to learn today, right, you can change the mechanism. You can develop virtually an unlimited number of mechanisms. But just so that you understand what happens in some cases, let's take the, right, it contains the Garcinia, I don't even know how to spell this, Cambogia, that may be how it is, right? This was years ago. I remember many, many moons ago. I remember when Garcinia first hit the market, and I had friends that were in the CPA marketing, affiliate marketing type of thing, and they made a huge amount of money. They made a killing, just as affiliates for Garcinia Cambogia supplements. There was a time when the first one came out that it was a unique mechanism, right? And so it took the supplement world, the fat burning world, by storm. Today, if you go over to Google or you go over to Amazon and you do a quick search, you're going to find hundreds of different types of products, hundreds of different brands that have Garcinia Cambogia. This is where, for these folks, this is where you see, it's still Promise over here, but now it is expanded. Let's just do it like this, expanded unique mechanism. So this becomes something like, let's call it pharmaceutical grade. Take this, which has pharmaceutical grade Garcinia Cambogia. This is, right, it has Garcinia Cambogia from the rainforest or whatever. It has Garcinia Cambogia with a digestive enzyme. It's expanding the mechanism. It's similar to stage 2, except over here, in order to compete for these folks, when they have a physical type product, they can't change the unique mechanism. They're expanding on the unique mechanism. They're looking for what is different about their mechanism that's no longer that's no longer a true unique mechanism, and they are expanding on it. And then you see for the folks where there is, now everybody's got pharmaceutical, everybody's got Garcinia from the rainforest or whatever it may be. Then there is the 5th stage, which is really about the prospect's experience, right? The prospect's experience. And this is where the marketing is no longer about the mechanism anymore. It's now about, like, are you sick and tired of dieting, exercising, starving yourself and never losing weight. And I'm sharing that with you because that is the Promise exposure spectrum. And that's the kind of the evolution that markets go through as they're exposed to more and more markets. So marketing. So when you hear me say, or going forward, when you think about like that, there are markets that are more sophisticated than others from a marketing perspective. I'm not talking about there are markets that have neurosurgeons in it and markets that have, blue collar workers. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sophistication as it relates to what it is that they've seen already. What is it that they've heard already? What is it that they've been presented with already? So you remember all this, and you should start to see these things slowly starting to connect. Remember when I said different? I said differentiation today is key. What prospects want to know is what's different about yours, right? And what makes that difference better or produce better results, better for me as the prospect. Well, in order for us to know that, right? Like in order for us to know different, we've got to know. We want to know where are they at? Like, what have they heard already? What haven't they heard already? What have they been exposed to? If they've been exposed to, to I can do this. Oh, wait, I got to do this. Hang on one second. Hang on one second. Where is this? Did I just delete this? Yeah. There we go. No drawing. No more drawing. We have to understand where are they at, right? Like, because if they've already heard the promises and people are already expanding on the promises, we need to roll with a promise plus unique mechanism. The beauty is, like I said, for the overwhelming majority of you, you'll be able to live here. You'll be able to live here because you'll understand how to identify a different unique mechanism, right? And the reality is that it's very rare in the intellectual property world, in the world of coaching, consulting, that people knock off a unique mechanism. It's very common in the physical product space, like certainly the supplement space, but it's very rare in the coaching, consulting, information product training world for people to knock off a unique mechanism. So the reality is that you'll be able to live here into perpetuity, and this will always differentiate what it is that you have to offer. And so let me see here. Okay. And so before we go on, let's see here. Is Terry, not Fred. I'm not even really sure what my question is. As I'm over work with families struggling with children's behaviors, as well as helping them to find ways to rebuild relationships, empower emotional intelligence, attain academic success, and learn live like a real peaceful parenting using alternative types. Okay. Let me see here. I provide digital visibility for clients via SEO, PR, personalized video, crafting their message like so many others. I have lots of tools. Other than the fact that I'm good at this, how do I differentiate myself? Create my and big promise. Okay, so let me do this for 1 second. Let me take the slide deck off. So I want to make sure that I'm kind of simplifying this as much as I can for you guys and gals. And so the way to think about this is that one of the most common questions that I get asked, very similar to Barbara's question, is this idea of how do I differentiate myself, right? I provide SEO services. Let's take Barbara for 1 second. And hopefully Barbara is cool with this. I provide SEO services to let's say the small businesses. And the question is, well, how do I differentiate myself other than the fact that I'm better than everybody else, like I'm more knowledgeable than everybody else. I've been doing this longer, something like that. How do I differentiate myself? Well, number one, the thing that I want you to think of is this. You don't differentiate yourself, you differentiate your method. You differentiate your approach. So with Barbara, to keep this real, just simple for right now, because we're going to come back and we'll be doing work together. To keep this real simple. So number one, in Barbara's case, what she does is she helps people get found on Google or in the search engines by getting them top rankings, right? Like that's, if we really wanted to boil it, she helps people get found, right? Like the problem that, she's ultimately helping people with is, right, they've got a business and they're not getting traffic. And how do I get seen by people? Like, how do I get people to my website? If nobody comes to my website, nobody's going to buy, blah, 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 blah. Right. And so how do I get found? And Barbara has a process, a system to help people get found by getting top Google rankings, right? Now, Barbara, in the industry, that's what's referred to as search engine optimization, right? Optimizing pages and to get indexed and listed at the top of Google. Now, if Barbara simply said, right, I'm going to use search engine optimization. I'm going to optimize your website for the search engines, using the latest, SEO techniques or whatnot. And what'll happen is you'll get top rankings on Google. What Barbara would be doing in that case is presenting a commoditized mechanism, a commoditized solution. Because if I was the prospect, I could, right, potentially say, okay, so you're right. So it makes sense, Barbara, that search engine optimization is the way to go. Like, I get it. I can make the case that it's free traffic. I would love it if people saw my website listing at the top. Right. But now I have the ability to say to myself, well, maybe there is somebody that a friend could recommend or a friend knows. Maybe there's another search engine optimization company that's local to me that I can go into, right? Like, it opens up a lot of, let me do a little bit of research. Now I could go to YouTube and let me see if, like, there's something else that I can understand about search engine optimization. And so the way that Barbara differentiates herself is not by changing, or excuse me, differentiates what she does, is not by changing the problem that she solves. She's still solving the same problem of helping these small businesses get found, right? By having top Google rankings, if you will. But what Barbara is going to present, and Barbara is going to show her prospect that she's got a methodology of getting a site listed on Google. Her methodology, which she calls just the Barbara method for right now, right? And that's not what we would go with, but let's just call it the Barbara method. It's very different from the typical approach that people use to search engine optimization. And the reason why it's different is because the Barbara method focuses on dot, 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 and when done correctly in combination, produces faster rankings because it brings the Google spider to the site quicker. So you don't have the same wait time, right? So you can get new pages at the top of Google listed very quickly, so that you can blah blah blah. You're getting found for hot terms, new terms whenever you see them, because of the way that the Barbara method works to get your rankings. That's how you differentiate, because now when the person says, oh, I understand how the Barbara method works, right? Well, there is nowhere else to get the Barbara method but through Barbara. So it's not about differentiating you. It's not about your experience. See, the reality is this. What you have to understand is, right, everybody that is selling their services, marketing and selling their services, is going to say they feel that they are the best option. Like, I feel I'm the best at this. I feel like you should choose me. Nobody goes out there and says, I'm the third best provider of search engine optimization services. Right. So the point is that that's not a true point of differentiation. It's not a true point of differentiation because it's exactly what your prospect expects you to say. Of course, your prospects expect you to say that you're great at this, that you've got a ton of experience. That's what every vendor says. Every vendor is like, we get extraordinary results. I've never interviewed a vendor for anything and had them say, yeah, we're average, we're decent, we're not as good as some of the others out there, but we're never, ever, right? And you guys know that. And so what the point is that what I want you to understand before we continue is how you deliver the results. So if it's SEO, right, and you're going to see this, we're going to get to this. So a lot of these questions you're going to see are going to be answered when we get to uncovering what your mechanism is, because there's a part that a lot of folks just miss, that don't understand, that I believe that when you understand this, you're going to see it. And so a lot of these questions, I'm not putting these, I'm not ignoring these. I'm just putting these off for a bit because you're going to understand this, right? That the question isn't, all right, all I do is I provide SEO services, right? It's, well, what do you do? Right? Are you, if Barbara said, like, and what most people will say is, all I do is I provide search engine optimization. Okay, well, I understand that that's the outcome of what it is that you do, but tell me, what is your method for search engine optimization? What is your process? What is the first thing you do? What is the second thing you do? Why do you do the first thing first and the second thing second? Why do you do these 6 steps? Why do you do them in this order? Why don't you do 7? Right? Why do you do only these? Why do you do it over this time frame? Why do you do it the way that you do it? See, because behind all of those, and I'm skipping way ahead for right now, so we're going to cover this in depth, and I'm going to give you specific questions to ask. But all of those questions uncover why you do what you do. And the reality is that when you think about this, why you do what you do what you do because you believe it's the best way to do it. If you didn't believe it was the best way to do it, you wouldn't do it that way. You would do it a different way, right? So when you do anything, right? Anything in business and outside of business, when you do something and you do it a certain way, you do it a certain way because you believe that it's going to get you the best result. You don't do it that way because you believe it's the third best way to do it, or there's 3 other better ways to do it. You do it that way because you believe that it's the best way to do it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at what you do in Barbara's case to get clients Google rankings. Sorry about the landscapers are outside. We're going to look at why you do what you do, and how you do what you do, and it's in there that you're going to find the reasoning, the basis for your mechanism. So even if you said, right, I set up Facebook ads for people. Right. I drive traffic because I set up ads for Facebook people. Right. And so, well, of course, if you just say I set up ads for Facebook people, like it's all about the Facebook ads, it's not all about the Facebook ads. It's all about your method, your process, your approach to setting up Facebook ads. Just like we had on here, I believe somewhere I get these questions all the time, right? All the time. I believe that the most recent question that I got was from Ted. I don't know if Ted is on here. I didn't realize Ted sent over a question. Let me just see something here. Let's see somewhere. Ted P is on this list. Well, Ted asked a question and I didn't realize that Ted had signed up for the workshop, but Ted had asked, right, like, he basically said, and hopefully Ted, it's okay for me to share this with everybody since we're going to be talking about it anyway. But Ted, right, has been doing LinkedIn marketing for folks for many years. He's a pro, he's an expert at LinkedIn marketing. And now there are a lot of competitors that are also coming in and that are offering LinkedIn marketing services. And so now there's a whole bunch of competition for LinkedIn marketing. And so, right, Ted simply talking about the value of LinkedIn marketing and why you want to market. And I want you guys and gals to listen to me here. Please listen to what it is that I'm about to say. I said this already, but hopefully this is another way to kind of look at this. That if all Ted does and all Ted did was say, right, that there's value in LinkedIn marketing and I'm the best, I'm the pro, I've been around a long time, right? I'm the expert, right? All he is doing is selling people on the value of a commoditized mechanism. All he's doing is convincing them of LinkedIn marketing, right? And now they've got a lot of different options, right? And he's talking about LinkedIn marketing. His competitors are talking about LinkedIn marketing. Everybody's talking about LinkedIn marketing in his space. And so now he's being lost in all the noise, right? And so the answer to that is, right, well, Ted's a pro. He's an expert. Odds are he's got a process, a system, an approach, a method. Not odds are, he does. Whether he's realized it, just like you guys and gals, and I'm going to show you how to dig this out. Whether he's realized it or not, he's got a process. Whether it be that he's teaching LinkedIn marketing or he's doing LinkedIn marketing, if he's doing LinkedIn marketing for clients, like let's say agency work, well, he's got a process. See, the value of his expertise, the value of his experience, just like Barbara, just like all of you, the value of your experience is in that because of that experience, you've developed an approach, you've discovered an approach, you've formed an approach that allows you to get better results. The value of the experience is that you know what to do better, right? Like you have an approach that should be better than the folks that are brand new, that aren't pros at this. And so there are nuances to what you do, right? There are nuances to how Ted goes about using LinkedIn marketing for folks. There's a reason why Ted's approach to LinkedIn marketing, Ted's process, Ted's framework, Ted's steps, what he does first, what he does second, why he does it first, why he does this second, why he waits, what numbers he looks at, how he optimizes a campaign, what is the copy that he uses with clients, why does he use that copy? There's a reason behind every one of those things. And it's that process when we uncover it, like I'm going to teach you, when you uncover it, that becomes the reason why Ted is able to get the result for clients that he's able to get them. And so what Ted is then able to do is he's able to present, there is a different way for you to go about LinkedIn marketing or for getting traffic or getting sales or whatever it is, referral on LinkedIn, right? Very different from the typical approach that people use to LinkedIn marketing, right? This is what's called blah, 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 blah. Still talking about LinkedIn, still talking about getting traffic or referrals or sales from LinkedIn, still talking about solving the same problem, right? But now Ted is showing that he's got a different approach. He's creating an apples to oranges comparison. While others do this and others leverage this, the reason why Ted's method, why his process, why his mechanism works is because of the nuances of how he does it, of what he does, of when he does it, of where he does it, right? It's that method. See, every single one of you that that teach anything, you have a process. You might not realize it. You might not have formalized it. You might not have identified it. You might not fully understand it, which is really, and we're going to cover this in depth, which is the biggest issue that people miss, or the biggest element that people miss when they try to reverse engineer the strategy of the unique mechanism. They just don't understand that it starts with uncovering what the mechanism is, right? What is the approach? So when Barbara says, right, like, I do SEO. How do you do SEO? What is your approach? What's your system? When Ted says I do LinkedIn marketing, right? It is, well, how do you do LinkedIn marketing? What is your process? What is your approach? What is your system? What's step one? Why do you do step one? What's step two? Why do you do step two? Right? Why do you do step one first and then step two? Why do you do it over this time frame? You look at XYZ. Why do you look at XYZ? Why do you look at XYZ first before you do this step? All of those things. See, all of those things, what that does, and you're going to see all these questions to ask to identify the mechanism. All of those things uncover for you what your method is, what your process is, but it also gives you the reasons why you do it this way. And those reasons are because it's better, right? Because it's easier, because it's faster, because it's simpler, because it produces quicker results, because it produces more results. See how, and we're going to get to that when we talk about interrogating what's called interrogating your mechanism. So, and Barbara, I'm going to explain that to you. So again, that's coming at the end. Most of these questions, like I said, I'm going to address them. Have no fear, like it's covered. And so I'll explain to you how you share the process without giving away the process. We have a unique mechanism that the competition doesn't have to assist pets in managing stress, and see how all their, so hold that. What do you think about this? And hold that to, I'm going to get to you guys. I'm going to open it up and we're going to talk, one-on-one while everybody listens. And so have no fear. Just want to clarify. Okay. So check this out. So let me just see here. I just want to make sure. So Brett asked, what if you don't have control over the end product, an annuity, for example? Do you find the unique features of that annuity and make them into a unique mechanism? This is a great question. For example, using artificial intelligence index in the annuity. The other option would be on the method angle. We've used the concept of scientific retirement. So very smart. Great question, Brett. And I love the thinking that you have here. So there are a couple of different options. So let's take, for example, right? So Brett's question of, well, because I have a ton of clients like this, where like we provide an annuity. We're financial advisors, or we help people get set up with, let's say, a particular insurance product, right? Or we help people get set up with a particular, like an annuity, right? An investment vehicle. And we have no control over the investment vehicle. The annuity is the annuity, or the insurance product that they wind up with in the end is the insurance product, right? We're just a broker. We don't have control over that. So how do we create a unique mechanism, or how do we develop a unique mechanism? Well, so the approach to that, and there's a couple of different approaches, but the simplest approach to that is the process that you use. The process that you use to identify the perfect insurance product for your prospect, to ensure that they get maximum coverage at the least cost. Right. And now what you're doing is you're saying your unique mechanism is to get them set up with the perfect, let's call it insurance product for their needs, for their budget, with your process of identifying their needs, your process of assessing the different insurance products, your process for weeding out the different options that they have, and identifying the right one. That can be a unique mechanism, right? So when let's say insurance broker says, well, I'm going to help you find the absolute best, insurance product for your needs. That's what they all say. Every single one of them says that, right? Nobody says, I'm going to help you find, the third best option for you. Everybody says, I'm going to help you find, right? And so how do we differentiate? If we can't differentiate with the end product, we differentiate in the process. We have a unique process that allows us to weed out the bad ones, that identify the good ones, to match you up perfectly, to get you the right. We call this boom, and here's how it works. Unlike what the typical insurance broker does, which is, let me just pull up my go-to sources and see which one's cheapest and bring it to you. We use a 3-point triad approach, a 3-point triad method, which pinpoint perfectly the best, so that you walk away with the most coverage, the best plan for you at the lowest cost. Done. That's the mechanism. And so the question is, right, what if the process is not unique? So this is where I would challenge you on whether the process is unique or not. So, right, because I get this also all the time. We have lots of like doctors and professionals as clients, and they'll say, like, take the chiropractor, for example. And the chiropractor will say, when I said, when they said we help people to understand the value of chiropractic care. And I said, no, you're not selling people on the value of chiropractic care. You're selling people on the value of chiropractic care with you. And they would say, well, I provide chiropractic care. There's 5 other chiropractors around here that provide chiropractic care. Well, unless that chiropractor is doing exactly the same thing from moment one that the patient walks into his or her office, right, from the exact same thing from beginning to end in the exact same order as the other chiropractors, he or she has a process, whether it be, right, I would say to the doctor, right, like, what do you do? How do you assess new patients? What do you do? What process do you use? Do you use, do you put them through certain movements? What are the movements that you put them through? Why do you put them through those movements? Do you do x-rays? What x-rays do you do? What kind of machine do you use for the x-rays? When you adjust them, how do you start? Do you start at the bottom? You start at the top? You start here? How do you assess where they've got subluxations or whatever in their spine? Post-treatment, what do you do? Do you do muscle stim? Do you do massage? What kind of muscle stim do you do? Why do you do that muscle stim? Right? And when we're done asking those questions, the chiropractor realizes that, like, look, right, overall, many doctors may do muscle stim, may do this, they may do an assessment, right? But that doctor has their own twist on what it is that they do, the order in which they do it, the time frame that they do it, even the recommended treatment plan that they do. Unless they're doing exactly the same thing to the T from second one to the end, they have an approach that they use. And so it gives them the ability to say, we use, for lack of a better phrase off the cuff, we use a triple point process of chiropractic care. And this differs from what the typical chiropractor does, because what we do is we focus on the 3 attributes of and the reason why this produces far better improvements in wellness and decreases in pain is because LMNOP. Right. And so leading the prospect to see, okay, so I don't want just simple chiropractic care. I want this triple point. I understand why this triple point chiropractic care, is produces better results. Like, it makes sense to me. I get it. I understand. You've educated me. Thank you. Right. And now when that doctor is the only one that offers that triple point, because it's his or her process, and understand this, that like, look, if you change up slightly, a step here, a step here, a step here, that's your process. It's not the same. It's not identical. Just because it's a small change, it's a small tweak here. Like, I tweak this, and I do this a little bit differently. Everything else, right, 80% of it is the same. But if you tweaked anything, there's a reason why you tweaked it. You tweaked it because you believe that tweak makes it better. Well, if that tweak makes it better, then it's not the same, right? It's not the same. I want you guys and gals to understand that, you, just because you say, well, I deliver chiropractic care, and lots of people deliver chiropractic care. Well, when we dig in, how do you deliver chiropractic care? What do you do? What do you do first? What do you do second? How do you assess them? Why do you do it that way? Right? You're able to identify the different aspects of what it is that you do. And when you dig the right way, or when you interrogate the right way, as I'm going to teach you, you're able to very quickly uncover these things. And so you're going to learn that. I want to answer, and so hopefully, is that Ubadula? How about UN? Let me just call you UN so I don't mangle the name. Hopefully that helps as a start for you. Let me just see something here. So same promise, but the method works better. Doctor, I know that I think this was Terry. Terry, so to answer the question that was popped into the chat, I'm sorry, I'm just going back and forth between the chat and the little Q&A area. So your method is different from everyone else's, and the method is better at producing the result. Correct. That's the answer, right? So that's the difference, right? The difference is that, like, right, because we're able to identify what do they want, knowing that there are going to be lots of people in the marketplace that you're competing with, especially in crowded and saturated markets that are promising the same outcome. At the end of the day, what your prospect wants is the result, right? They want the result. And of course, they want the result either faster, easier, they want a bigger result, they want a more consistent result. We're going to talk about that for your particular market later, but they want the outcome. So what they want is the outcome. When we identify what is the outcome that they want, and we see that there are others that are also promising to give them that same outcome, that same result, that same payoff, we differentiate with the mechanism. Our mechanism is not only a different way to get that result, but it's a better way to get the result. It's a better way. It's a better solution. It's a better path. It's a faster path. It's an easier path. It's a more consistent path. It produces better results than the other options, right? And remember, what prospects want is they want the best solution. They don't want the second best. They want the best solution. And so what they're going to, like, if you just say mine's the best, why? Right? That's the quote, like, mine works the best. Why? Because I'm an expert at this. Everybody says they're an expert at this. Right? Like that's not giving an answer, right? That's not like there's nothing to hang. Everybody says that. And so if you say the same thing that everybody else is saying, there is no differentiation, right? Then it becomes like I'm choosing between apples and apples, right? Well, ours is right. It's better because, and I'm going to show you how to present the because that comes from the interrogation. Why do you do what you do? Why do you do it first? Why do you do it second? Why are you doing it the way that you're doing it? Those answers we're then going to use to explain why yours is better. And so hopefully that makes sense. I want to answer one more question over here, which is the value of LinkedIn marketing should still be in the EBM content. Correct. So, so somebody asked a question, not sure again who this is, anonymous. Then I'm going to get to Devanan's question, which is an awesome question. So Ted would teach the value of LinkedIn marketing and his The value of LinkedIn marketing would still be in the EBM content. So this is a great question, and I want you to hang with me. I'm going to answer the question now, but you're going to understand this fully by the time that we're done today. So it depends. So let's say that, and I want everybody to listen to me. So the question was, so Ted, remember we were talking about Ted. Ted teaches, let's say he teaches LinkedIn marketing and right, but he teaches his method of LinkedIn marketing, his process, and his process is better than the typical approach that people do with LinkedIn marketing to produce results. And there's a reason why that Ted's going to present that you're going to learn how to do, right? And so the question is, so Ted would explain the value of LinkedIn marketing and his unique mechanism in his marketing campaign. It depends. It depends if Ted is talking to people that already understand the value of LinkedIn marketing, or if he's talking to people that don't know the value of LinkedIn marketing. So if Ted is talking to, let's say Ted was asked to go and speak in front of a group of small business owners, and they were kind of novice business owners, and they were there to learn how to use the internet to grow their business, let's just say, right? And so kind of novice, unsophisticated folks. So before they care, and listen to me carefully, before they care that Ted has a different and better way of getting results from LinkedIn, they need to understand why LinkedIn is the best platform for them to use. Right? So because if he's talking to those people that don't yet understand the value of LinkedIn, they're novices, they're totally, they're starting from square one, let's just say. Well, and all Ted did was explain that he's got a different and better way to do LinkedIn marketing. He may lead prospects to realize, wow, this method of LinkedIn marketing, like this method of getting sales or generating traffic or referrals or whatever it is, leads from LinkedIn sounds amazing. It sounds unbelievable. But right, what about Google? Shouldn't I start on Google? Or what about Facebook? Or what about Twitter? Or what about, Clubhouse or one of those crazy things? Like, right? So if he's talking to those people that don't yet understand the value of LinkedIn marketing, yes, he has to get buy-in on LinkedIn marketing first. And then, right, like he'd say, but the beautiful thing, right, once like LinkedIn, and it's not LinkedIn marketing, it's LinkedIn as the source. Like LinkedIn is a great, he would get them to recognize that LinkedIn is a platform where they can get a ton of leads, a ton of when done right. And the single best way to do it is with what's called the triad approach to, right? And I'm just making this the triad approach to, and here's why it works. Here's why it's very different from the typical approach and why it produces better results on LinkedIn. Boom. Now, when TED is done, they understand the value of LinkedIn and why it's the platform for them to use. And they understand why TED's method is the best way to use LinkedIn to get those results. But if TED was talking to people that were already aware of the value of LinkedIn, like if he was going in now and he was talking about like, let's say he opened up his campaign with, he was attracting people that are like using LinkedIn and want to get more sales or something like that, using LinkedIn and not generating enough sales or whatever it is that that TED is doing. Well, then he doesn't have to get buy-in on LinkedIn because he's talking to people that are already bought into LinkedIn. Then he can start with why there is a different way to use LinkedIn, and this different way is producing results far superior to the others, and here's why. And then TED would use what it is that he's going to learn to explain that. So Sheldon asks, there's tons of questions coming in. I love it. Yeah. And so see, TED said many of his clients come to him after failing with competitors. That's almost like the perfect storm for a unique mechanism, TED, because right, the beauty is that they've already tried LinkedIn marketing. And listen to me, everybody, get this, right? They already tried LinkedIn marketing. They already went to TED's competitors. They already tried LinkedIn marketing. Now imagine TED goes, I'm going to teach you LinkedIn marketing, right? And I'm better than, they're going to say, I've done it. I've tried it. I've tried LinkedIn marketing, right? But when TED says, right, like this is different from the typical approach that most people use. The issue with the typical approach is XYZ. This different method, which is called the triad method, it produces superior results because of how it leverages XYZ, how it taps into LMNOP, how it uses the LinkedIn algorithm to whatever TED's reasoning is, right? And we're never making any of that reasoning up. It comes from the interrogation portion. But that's a beautiful thing, because if TED went in and just talked about LinkedIn marketing, heard it, seen it, done it, already wasted money on it, I'm not going back in. Right? I'm not going back in. But you tell me you've got a different way, right? A different way, a unique way, right? And a way that it produces superior results. Now I'm interested, right? If I'm bought in already to LinkedIn, which TED's folks have already bought into. So in reality, while credentials are important, they're not necessarily a selling point. Correct. This is all about, so Terry, right? Terry said, this is all about understanding the prospect and exactly where they are in the process. Correct. This is in reality, while credentials are important, they're not necessarily a selling point. Correct. Absolutely. And the reality is that one of the things that, that I teach to our clients is that the credibility section, let me drink water. This is also why we take a lunch break, so that I don't lose my voice. After all these years, I tend to lose it. This is why one of the things that we teach in the E5 method to our students and clients is that in the credibility section of your campaign, in the credibility section of your campaign, which comes right after the lead. The lead is the first 350 to 500 words. I'm going to share a bit of this with you later today when we talk about deploying your unique mechanism and how you set up the campaign and the different chunks using your unique mechanism. It's actually really, really simple when you understand it. Right after the lead, after we've set the emotional hook about the unique mechanism, we go into the credibility chunk. The credibility chunk is typically 2, maybe 3 sentences at most. And it's there to answer one question and one question only. And that is, why should I listen to you on this topic? So it's not there to be a bio. It's not there to prove that you are the #1 doctor from Harvard. It's not there to prove that, like, we're not trying to prove that, right? Because we're not selling based on you're the leader in the world of XYZ. We're not selling, right? Like, for the overwhelming majority of people, there's only one leading doctor. There's only one leading financial planner. There's only one, right? Like, famous, like, there's only one Warren Buffett, right? The beauty is that you don't have to, you're not trying to sell based on your credibility. You're just showing them, this is why you should listen to me, right? This is the only reason why you should listen to me on this topic. And there is a variety of different ways that can be done and demonstrated. And so, so Sheldon, what if I don't have sound authority status? Does your unique mechanism will still be able to cut through the noise and affect higher conversion rate? Without question, because it's not based on your status. Like, certainly, look, let me be crystal clear for this for time purposes. Having authority status and having authority status, having celebrity status, having, whiz bang, credibility, status will certainly aid the conversion process. It certainly helps, right? It certainly adds to it for sure, without question, but it is absolutely positively not necessary or unnecessary when you are using a unique mechanism. So there are, right, because you're going to understand, you're going to learn by the time that we are done that you're presenting a different way for the prospect to get the result, a different way that is superior, and you're going to give the reasons why it's superior. So they're not resting. You're not pitching a product, making a bunch of claims and just having those claims of benefit rest on how much of a celebrity or authority or a credible expert you are. No, we're actually presenting the reason why it's superior, the reason why it works quicker, the reason why it is easier, the reason why it produces more consistent results. Maybe one of those, two of those, a combination of those, as you're going to learn. And so you don't need, it's not about your, right? Like, if you were only making claims, which I don't know why somebody would do that. If you were just making claims about how great your product is, if you were just pitching, right? Well, then certainly your status, your credibility becomes that much more critical. But when you are using a unique mechanism and you're presenting it like I'm going to teach you with education-based marketing content, it's not about your status. We're just, again, that credibility chunk is there just to answer the question, why should I listen to you on this topic? That's it. That is it. That's all she wrote. So even in my own marketing, my own campaigns, like when I create a campaign, when my team creates a campaign, you see that my little credibility chunk, while I could give pages of stuff, is 2 to 3 sentences. That's it. Because all they want to know is, why should I listen to you? Why should I listen to you? What credibility do you have in this area that it makes it okay for me to listen to you on this? We're not trying to prove that you're the best. We're not trying to prove that you're better than everybody else. We're not trying to prove that you are #1. We're not trying to prove that you're a celebrity. We're just answering the question, why should I listen to you on this topic? I want to go back to, one question. And I'm going to get to everybody's question, so have no fear. Let me do this. Let me get rid of this. Get rid of this. I should have been deleting these things. Just give me 1 second. So Devanan said, we currently have a framework for our 6-month mentorship program, helping people to quit their job and build their business around passion A to Z. And then he listed out the sales process was listed out. We already have a for the mentorship program. Do I need a different for the 3-day event? Just want to clarify, because they're similar, but not the same. So I just want to make sure, I want to address one thing. So I want to be crystal clear. So oftentimes, and you're going to hear me repeat certain things throughout our time together, and we still have a ton of stuff. Like we haven't even scratched the surface yet, really. But we're going to cruise through stuff and then get to the conversations and dissections and your mechanisms and all that in the second half of the day. So one of the things that I hear often is folks will say, so let's take this. So we teach people how to quit their job, and let's say we teach people how to quit their job and build a passion, build a business around their passion. And they'll say, like, we have a unique way that we deliver our coaching program or our mentorship program. And I'm not sure if that's the question that's being posed here, but I'm sharing this because this is important. They'll say we have a unique process, like of the way that we deliver the program. We deliver the program, 3 times a week or blah, 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 do this. That's not a unique mechanism. So, right, how you deliver the program is not a unique mechanism. Might be an interesting way that you fulfill the product. It might be an interesting feature of the product. Remember, a unique mechanism is how your product or service delivers the result. And so in this case, right, we help people to quit their job and build a business around their passion. The question becomes, well, how do you help them do that? Like, what is the process that you use, right? What is the system that you use? The unique mechanism is around what they get that allows them to be able to quit their job and build the business. It's the method, it's the process that gives them that end result. It's not how you deliver your product. It's not how you deliver your program. It's not, right? Remember that when you talk about, here's the way we deliver the program, here's what you get access to, here's how you get access to it, that doesn't answer the question, well, why does your thing work to give me the result? Right? Why does your thing, like, why yours? You say to somebody, right, like, we teach LinkedIn marketing, but I'm going to teach you LinkedIn marketing, and I'm going to teach you, we're going to do this 3 times a week where, everybody else was doing it twice a week. That's not the answer. That's not an answer. That doesn't tell me what's different about, like, why should I trust that yours is going to give me the result when I've already tried LinkedIn marketing? Right. So what you're telling me is that you're going to teach me more often every week, but I already tried LinkedIn marketing. Right. And so the unique mechanism answers the question of how does your product or service work to deliver the result. Right. And so it's what is behind the mentorship program. What are you teaching them? What are you equipping them with? What are you giving them in that mentorship program? See, the way to look at it is that for Devanand, whatever is given to the clients in that mentorship program should be unique and proprietary to Devanand. Right? Like, it should be unique and proprietary to Devanand. The system, the process, the methodology that we teach in that mentorship program is only available through Devanand. And right, like, and that's it. Right? That's the method, the process, the system, the tools, the combination, whatever it may be, is the reason why this system gets killer results. And when you combine this system with the way that we deliver it, right now we going into the offer with the way that we deliver it, you're guaranteed success, right? Like, that's, you see what I'm saying? And so hope that makes sense. Yeah. And so Devanand, that's the specific process in the modules is it would be the mechanism. When you're talking to prospects and you're talking about, like, you're basically like, we're going to show you how to quit your job and build a business around your passion. And even though, right, tons of people talk about that, we have a very different way for you to do that. We have a different process for you to do that. We call this process XYZ, and here's why it's different than everything else. And here's why it's a better path for you to be able to build this business around your passion. Here's why it works, and here's why it works quicker, and here's why it's easier. Here's why it's more consistent, right? And then when they say, oh, I get that, right? Okay, so I don't want to do courses. I don't want to be in affiliate marketing. This process sounds awesome. Then we segue into the offer, and that's when you present your 6-month mentorship program. Now, to answer the heart of the question, Devanand, if in the 3-day event you are ultimately teaching the same thing, like if you're teaching them the same thing and the aim is the same, then it's the same unique mechanism. So like when we used to do, which we don't anymore, when we would do multi-day E5 method intensives where folks would fly into to Florida, we're same mechanism. right? Same mechanism. It's just that the offer is different. The way that, right? Think about this, right? Right, like that the offer, whether it's a 3-day event or whether it is a mentorship program or whether it's a coaching program or whether it's a home study course or whether it's a book, that's just about the offer. That's about the deliverables. That's how they benefit from the unique mechanism. But before we roll that out, we got to get buy-in on the unique mechanism. If what's being delivered is the same thing, is the same mechanism, they're going to get the same mechanism, right? Then how it's delivered is all about the offer. And so, okay. Let me see here. So King Leonidas. Got it. Dev is the boss joining. This is Bronze. What an awesome name. Joining the media. Cool. You got it. So yeah, so David, and I know, man, I've got so much to cover, but these are such great questions. So David said, so same mechanism, but depends on how you fulfill and how deep you go. Yeah, check this out. So let's look at this. So let's say that, let me give you an example. The answer, David, is absolutely, David asked, right? So like same mechanism, right? But different way, but it depends on how you fulfill it. Meaning like, right, how you fulfill it, what the offer is really almost irrelevant when it comes to putting together the marketing, the bulk of the marketing message. When it comes to using and deploying your unique mechanism, the offer is almost irrelevant. Let me give you an example. Let's say I wanted to, let's say I was selling a 2-day, a 2-day E5 intensive. Come out, spend 2 days in Florida. It's 18 grand, and you'll master the E5 method right from beginning to end over the course of a 2-day intensive. Now let's change it up for a second and say that I'm going to offer, right? And remember, that's the offer. Listen to me carefully, everybody. I'm talking about the product. The product is a part of the offer, right? So in this case, I'm talking about a product, part of the offer. So now let's say I decide I want to offer a home study version of the E5 method. So, right, like home study version of the E5 method for, $4,000 or something like that. And so right now I want to E5 method home study version. Now let's say I want to offer a telephone call for somebody to talk to one of our E5 advisors to better understand how E5 method can fit into their business through the E5 coaching experience, right? That's a different offer, right? Different deliverable. The mechanism is the same, because what I want you to understand is this. Remember, all of this stems from, and listen to me, please listen to me carefully here. All of those, the mechanisms stem from what does the prospect want? What is the problem that the prospect is dealing with? If, let's say, to keep things simple, just for this discussion, the prospect wants, more consistent client acquisition. They want to be able to acquire clients every day, right? So 7 days a week, they want to be able to acquire clients without fail, evergreen, kind of, automated, if you will, without having to do new campaigns. They want consistent day in and day out, new client acquisition coming into their business, right? Well, the reality is that the E5 method is the absolute best method for doing that. Okay. It's let's just say, right, to use the expression that we've used up to this point, it's the best method. It's the best way. It's the superior method, right? So regardless of whether the offer is going to be for the home study program, the 2-day intensive, or E5 coaching, my campaign argument, my campaign message, the 75% of my marketing campaign that comes before the offer is identical. is identical. I am getting buy-in on the unique mechanism, the E5 method. I am showing prospects why the E5 method is not only different, but superior to every other method when it comes to consistent client generation. I have to do that and get that buy-in regardless of whether I'm offering a book, a 2-day intensive, the home study program, or the E5 coaching. Regardless, it's the same mechanism. The only difference between those is how it's fulfilled, right? So of course, when I come to the offer portion, and now I'm going to talk about the deliverables, what you get and what it'll do for you, like with, like let's say, right, there'll obviously be different features, if you will, different deliverables with those different offers. Obviously with E5 coaching, right, you get access to me, you get access to my marketing director, you get access to my tech guy, you get access to this, right? You get your questions answered Monday through Friday, you get this, you get your own coach, whereas with the home study program, you don't get those things. You're going to get other things, right? You get access to it, blah, 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 blah. But everything else leading up to that, right? My job is to create demand for the E5 method first and foremost, because whether I'm offering it as a 2-day intensive, whether I'm offering it as a coaching program, whether I'm offering it as a masterclass, my job is still to get demand for the E5 method. I want them to want the E5 method before I give them the opportunity to get it. And they can get it through the masterclass. They could get it through the 2-day intensive. They could get it through the E5 coaching. It's just that there are different deliverables, different benefits, different aspects to each of those different offers. The only thing that changes in those instances is the offers. I'm still getting buy-in on the method, on the mechanism first before I present. Think about it this way. Really think about it this way, gang, right? The offer is the opportunity for them to get the mechanism. The offer is the opportunity for them to get the mechanism. The offer, our job is to make it brain dead simple for them to say yes to get the mechanism. That's the job of the offer. So if the job of the offer, ultimately, the offer is what gives them the opportunity to get the mechanism. Before we go into the offer, I want them to want the mechanism. So if in the offer, they're getting the mechanism just in different formats, different ways of it being delivered, I still have to do the same thing. So there's no difference in the 75% of the campaign for about the E5 method for a 2-day intensive compared to E5 coaching. Same thing. The only thing that changes is what I talk about during the offer, because there are different deliverables that come with each of those different components. That's it. You got it. 75% of my marketing campaign is always, when talking about when I'm offering the mechanism, when you are offering the mechanism, right? The first 75% is always the same, right? The offer can change, right? But if the offer, remember, the offer is the fulfillment of the mechanism. The offer is how they get the mechanism. Therefore, if the offer changes, right, and the way we're delivering it, right, is changing, but it's still giving them the mechanism, what we do in the first 75% is the same. And you're gonna learn that. You're gonna see this.